How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Nice to speak to you, Connor.
Nice to speak to you as well. You're
How,
good?
how are things going? Yeah, I'm pretty well. Looking forward to chatting.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. Yeah,
Fantastic.
all good over here in Switzerland currently.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I'm getting Swiss vibes, the stereotype of the kind of the wooden paneled walls and stuff.
yeah, well, I wondered if I should go sit outside with a mountain view, but we're sort of going to be getting to that dark sort of twilight phase in a bit over here.
Nice.
We're an hour later than you, so
So,
yeah.
whereabout in Switzerland are you?
I live in a place called Verbier,
Okay.
which is a ski resort
Oh,
uh,
fantastic.
up in the mountains. Yeah, it's a pretty special place. It's quite a popular sort of ski destination traditionally,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, I've been here
I've
for a
been Geneva before. I love Geneva, but I would like to kind of explore, see Bern, Zurich, places like that.
yeah. Bern's beautiful, and so is Zurich for sure. Yeah, like beautiful small kind of cities. Not as chaotic as some of the big ones in the UK. Whereabouts are you? Are you in London or?
Well, I'm in Edinburgh just now.
Are
Um,
you?
yeah,
Okay.
so the other side, north of the border. But yeah, no, Switzerland is on the map. It's on the agenda to do. So I'll get back to some point. Brush up on the skiing.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Nice.
I'd imagine that skiing is part of your everyday life over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more or less. I've done 8 winters here now, so you know, after a few, it does get a bit repetitive. So I've sort of dropped off with this on the skiing side of things and just sort of focused a bit more on my music and other sports in the winters. But I'm trying to sort of find the love for it again. So I don't know, maybe some new skis or I don't know, something will
A new outfit.
yeah, new outfit. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, you obviously mentioned the music there, and this is what we're here to talk about. I've been really loving your past few singles. See through obviously, and your purpose have been real kind of gems. Um, I'd love to go back to the very beginning though, and actually find a little bit about your journey into music and Connor as a child. How did you kind of discover this passion?
Uh, yeah, so I grew up in New Zealand. Well, I was born in Reading and then moved to my dad's hometown in a place called Palmerston North, in New Zealand. And yeah, my dad's a musician. He's always been sort of front man, lead singer for bands throughout, my life and before. But yeah, his influence was like, yeah, he definitely pushed music into my
Okay.
life, I guess, which I adopted happily. But yeah, from a young age, I was playing in, you know, singing "Sweet Child of Mine" and rock bands, and
Yeah.
then moved into like a jazz band when I was at
Nice.
small school in New Zealand, and yeah, music was always a big part of my life. I think I was like maybe 15 when I did my first sort of studio experience.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, made like a kind of reggae heartbreak song. I didn't
Nice.
really know what I was doing at the time. Um, but yeah, when I moved over to Switzerland at 17, I sort of really focused on music production, and it took a few years to really develop a sound that I was happy with, especially doing it sort of by myself because most of my stuff is just self-produced, sitting in my living room. Um, but yeah, that's a bit of the journey, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. So obviously you mentioned this reggae track. I'm intrigued. Is that like locked away somewhere or deleted?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it was called Same Games. It was like just a teenage heartbreak, very basic.
Your
It's
string
quite
period.
fun to. I heard it not too long ago. I could definitely
Okay.
dig it out, but it's not something I'd want to throw out publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Maybe after a few drinks, you'll give it a spin.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so obviously you mentioned going from Reading to New Zealand. Um,
Yeah.
do you kind of, I guess, sort of geographically, there's roots all over the place in that case. Do you find it kind of quite easy to kind of keep that connection with New Zealand going from Switzerland?
It's definitely further away than I would like, but I mean, New Zealand's, yeah, I mean, it's the other side of the world, so that's always going to be the case. Um, I went back in May, and it felt like home when I went back in May. I just absolutely fell in love with it again. Sort of autumn colors coming through, but yeah, geographically it is further away than I would like, and I do find it hard to stay in touch with everything going on over there. Um, yeah.
I guess obviously you mentioned sort of Switzerland was like the key to really you kind of driving your own music forward. I would love to kind of know a little bit about your actual writing process. I know obviously after speaking to a few different singers, some people say that it's quite spontaneous. Other people are more methodical and like to sit down and go, right, I'm going to write a kind of heartbreak song tonight, or I'm going to write a kind of a feel good sort of pop song. What's your process like when it comes to writing music?
Um, it's definitely for me. It is a bit spontaneous. It varies for sure. It depends what's going on in my life. Like I used to be, for example, in Purpose. Those were kind of those were songs that I really sat down and decided I wanted to write about those moments in my life. Whereas See Through, for example, was a song that the idea came randomly through singing some random words to the melody I'd written. And then I sort of honed in on the lyrics that I'd sang naturally and made a story around that. But it is random, you know, all the melodies for Like I Used to Be, for example, were made after the beat was made. You know, that I don't often do it that way, but that was a song where I was doing some beat making and then top lined over the song basically. But more often than not, I find I pick up an acoustic guitar or my electric, and yeah, I like to do it that way and really think about a song before I start recording it. Yeah,
It's interesting for someone, you know, that doesn't write music. It's quite an abstract concept. I'm happy to listen to it and kind of, you know,
yeah.
put my thoughts down. But yeah, it's quite a vulnerable process, I guess. You're really putting your heart on the line.
For sure. One thing I will say is that I definitely don't. There's quite like a culture of like speed writing amongst a lot of my music friends. They like to get in and have a song done in a day. You know, one of the luxuries of being self-produced and sort of running on my own time is that means I can really like take some time thinking about every aspect of the song and every lyric, and without feeling like a pressure, you know, that you get when you go into like any commercial space, whether you're paying for it or whether someone in the room's really pushing for like, we need to get this done today.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I think that comes through because, you know, in your tracks that I have written about, there is that sincerity. It doesn't feel like, you know, okay, this is a heartbreak song, and you know there is that kind of it's a sort of transparency, and it feels genuine. So I think, you know, whatever you're doing is definitely is coming across in the right way.
Thank you.
So thinking of See Through, reading sort of press release and things that it kind of mentioned that it was touching on confidence, anxiety, and sort of these feelings. Is that something that you have a personal experience with, not to pry, or is it more, you know, friends have made comments and you've picked up on things and vibes?
Yeah, it's weird. The meaning of the song, I've sort of grown to understand the meaning of the song for myself over time, actually, because when I wrote that song, it was about 4 years ago. Yeah, going back to sort of the songwriting process, I decided to do an alternative tuning on my guitar, which is a tuning called Dad Gad, and that was the first song I wrote in that tuning. But yeah, like I say, with that one, naturally I started singing some lyrics along with the melodies I wrote in sort of a one-take voice memo. And yeah, when I completed that song, didn't feel that like it was reflecting on any of my own feelings of anxiety or, you know, self-worth. But funnily enough, over time, you know, those feelings and those questions, I find myself asking myself those questions more, basically. So the meaning of it, yeah, it means more to me now than it did then, for sure.
It's interesting that it can have that effect where maybe at the time, you know, it obviously comes from within and it comes from something, but then maybe the jigsaw comes together a few years later. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So you have just dropped the music video for the track this weekend. Am I correct in thinking that? Yeah. What is your kind of experience of shooting music videos like? Is it something you enjoy, or is it maybe a less fun, more stressful part of the job?
Um, One thing I do struggle with out in Switzerland is just trying to be resourceful, I guess. Switzerland's an expensive country. So if
Yes.
you want a new film company or anything, I mean, yeah, it's just not really possible independently. Um, but generally, when it's organized, it's really fun. I do quite enjoy it, the sort of experience. And if there's a bit of a team, getting to know people. But see-through was a funny one because sort of the whole idea that we'd put together, the filmmaker, a guy called Tane Noble, who's a guy I grew up with in New Zealand. He put together a brilliant treatment with, a big concept of playing with light. It was still going to be in the same location, but in the summertime, it was going to have a girl sort of in the mirror house that's featured in the video, playing on that, especially because it's like self-reflection and, you know, um, but oh, sorry, what was I saying?
Yeah, so your kind of enjoyment level, I guess, of that
Yeah,
experience.
sorry, no, I lost that part. But
Oh, don't
yeah,
worry.
in the end, because of COVID, we ended up shooting in the winter,
Okay.
uh, and we couldn't get any actors or anyone like that because it was not allowed to happen over here. Yeah, we shot over the busiest period of the sort of season. So that mirror house was completely full despite COVID regulations. And we had to shoot right at the end of the evening. And yeah, the camera was turning off and just, yeah, we were kind of just worrying that the memory card was going to be corrupted the whole time. So it was a bit stressful, but once Tane had put it all together, there was a massive relief that came from all of the effort that we had to put ourselves through because it was just him and myself, more or less. My mum helped out a little bit.
Amazing. Yeah, utilize the parents, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But generally, it is quite fun. It is quite fun.
Yeah, and I think as well, there's a real, we're in the kind of TikTok age and it's very kind of bite-sized content. So there's something very nice about a song accompanied by, you know, that visual that just ties it all together. So I think there's a really important place for music videos that I think maybe sort of sadly fading away slightly with the people's attention span. They
Yeah,
for anything more than 30 seconds and they're over it. So yeah,
yeah, for sure.
it's great that you're kind of pushing that. Um, so obviously you mentioned filming the video during COVID. And I know 2020 and 2022 have been quite busy years for you musically. 2021, was that quite an introspective time for you to write and maybe focus less on putting music out, but actually more sort of produce things for further down the line?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, lockdown was a brilliant time for songwriting and recording, and yeah, I really I did use the time wisely, but then there was some I wish I'd capitalized on that time a little bit more, because as soon as you come back into being like a full-time gigging musician, you do lose that creative time. But yeah, there were a lot of songs that came out from that phase of my life. Yeah, I had a few things happen, and that's why maybe those songs you're saying feel a bit more sincere. It's because there were a lot of things that changed in my life that yeah, I had stuff to really sing about over that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely appreciated that time for the creative aspect of everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny now being on the other side of that, and you kind of evaluate what you did with that time. But I guess
Mm,
I think we're sometimes quite hard on ourselves. Obviously it was a huge global pandemic that there wasn't ever seen before. So if some good things came out of that, then yeah, we should
yeah,
be thankful.
for sure.
Um, so you've had quite a few hits or singles this year. So we've had See Through, Purpose, Like I Used to, um, a real kind of home run. They've all been kind of real gems. Do you think maybe compiling these into an EP or an album, or do you prefer the kind of singles approach to your music?
So we do have a plan, and the plan is to drop an album next year in
Brilliant.
August. Yeah, and I think we've got 5 singles planned in the build up to that, and then yeah, maybe push another single sort of once the album's out. Yeah, so there is a plan, and we are currently all on schedule. So yeah, it's quite
And
exciting.
Are you thinking, are you going to go physical as well, or are you going to stick to digital? Do you think vinyl, CDs, or go kind of streaming wise?
Yeah, I was chatting about this. I was chatting about this with my manager, Dylan, who I don't know if you had any communication with him at all, but he was. Yeah, we were talking about the physical side. I guess we're not quite there yet, but vinyl's obviously quite expensive, and your margins are very fine. And but yeah, I would like to, at least just for myself more than anything. It'd be cool to have. I think it'd be quite surreal having like an album there physically in front of you, even though
Absolutely.
most of us consume music now just through streaming sites. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, absolutely, you'll get there. I'm sure we will see it in the near future. Um, so we've kind of spoken about the expense of that actually, with self-producing and actual then putting out physical copies if you choose to do that. What aspects are you handling yourself, and what parts are you kind of managing to get a team on board with? So things like cover art and videos and PR. Have you been able to find a good balance between things you can do yourself and things you can get support with?
Um, well, I guess so. Dylan's coming as my manager this year, which has been great to sort of relieve a lot of those jobs, like putting together PR. He's definitely done. Yeah, he's done a huge amount. I still find myself, obviously, I'm producing, writing, mixing. I do send off my tracks for master. That's the stuff I prefer to do. But often I'll find myself like rushing to shoot some cover art or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I guess the dream is to have a complete team around you to handle
Yeah,
everything that isn't the music. I wouldn't want to pawn off any of the sort of music, the creative aspect. Like I like producing my own music. That's like the most fun part. That's what makes it you, I think. I think it's it's something
absolutely. And that creative thing.
always want that. Yeah, for
Brilliant.
sure.
So obviously you're gigging a lot in Switzerland. Um, is there any plans to kind of maybe a few New Zealand shows, or back to the UK to do a few shows? Is that something in the pipeline?
Yeah, so I've just secured like a booking agent in Australia,
Brilliant.
which is cool, with a company called Harbour, and they're sort of pushing for shows in Australia first. So we're looking at doing 2 shows in February
Brilliant.
uh, over there, Sydney, Melbourne, and then I'll likely do a show in New Zealand. Over on this side, haven't quite organized anything yet, but we are looking into it at the moment. Just securing someone to, a booking agent over on this side, ideally, to try and get some original shows, because a lot of the shows I do, I play some originals, but it's a lot of it's cover work and all that stuff. So yeah, I'd like to be doing more
When you're
shows.
doing these kind of gigs based on mostly covers, do you ever try and slip in a few more originals, just to see how many you can chance it with?
Yeah, it does depend on the vibe, like up in the mountains, it's very après ski, and like, I don't know, people come up into the Alps and they're just animals up here. So, you know, they want the classics, and sometimes you just have to give it to them. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, there are a couple of events I do. Well, there's one event especially I do sort of weekly here that's encourages more sort of live music, and the vibes just a little bit more chilled. Yeah, the audience tried to make it go up, but
yeah,
the particular place I'm talking about like to try and keep a lid on it, and they want to be a bit more cool and
yeah.
make it. So yeah, that's a good venue for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know obviously as a musician you'll have a lot of tracks sitting on hard drives and laptops and things. What's your best little kind of hidden gem that's sat there that you've maybe not released yet, but it's coming soon and you're quite excited about?
Um, I've got a song called "Pictures Say Nothing,"
Okay.
um, which I think is a really cool one. It's a little bit different in terms of sound. It's kind of funky, and yeah, I think it might surprise a few people, because up until now it's quite singer-songwriter. A lot of the stuff I'm releasing with a bit of like soul, I guess, if you're looking back at songs like Spaceman and hippie. But yeah, Pictures to Say Nothing is one I'm really excited for. We haven't quite decided what the next single is going to be yet, because there's, you know, a handful of them, and a lot of it is organized, you know, around the video production. Can we get this achieved for this date? But yeah, that one's going to be either next or the next one after, I would say.
Coming soon. Great.
Yeah, coming soon.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear you do a kind of more funky vibe. I think that would be very, very, very cool. So I know obviously you'll be involved in a lot of different kind of gigs with a lot of up and coming singer-songwriters as well. Is there anyone that maybe you've kind of clocked or you listen to that you would say is a good shout for the Culture Fix readers to check out?
Yeah. There's an artist in the UK I really like called James Smith.
Okay.
I think he was on Britain's Got Talent at a young age, or, you know, sort of Simon Cowell judging him, and yeah, he did quite well. But yeah, I'm always amazed. Like he's doing some great things, and I just think he should be bigger than he is, for sure. James Smith, he's got a beautiful song, one I particularly like. It's called District Line. It's absolutely, yeah, it's just tasty, mature, but it's like pop as well. You know, it kind of covers all the grounds. It's really well.
James Smith.
James Smith, yeah, check him out. I really like it. Like his music. He seems quite funny and stuff on his social media as well. He's quite charismatic. So
yeah. That's such a big part of it now as well. It's like it's the social media presence. It's you really having to be a master of all trades, and you know, not everyone likes to put themselves out there, but I guess it's part of the expectation now as an artist.
Yeah, it's definitely something I need to work on, for sure. You know, I do find, yeah, the relationship as an artist. Oh, sorry, getting virus pop-ups on my laptop.
Not me.
As an artist, yeah, like I don't know, like the relationship with social media can be kind of hard sometimes, you know, especially if you like want to be distancing yourself from it, but you have to be promoting, you know, like events or whatever, you know, yeah, it can be tough. That's only in patches though. Most of the time my relationship with, you know, Instagram or whatever is quite good, but yeah, there are definitely times when you'd rather not be on it, you know.
Thinking again, we tapped into the start. You mentioned obviously your dad being a big kind of rock fan and his sort of performances. Would you put any rock in your kind of top 3 albums, or what would you go with for your top 3 essential albums?
So maybe that was a bit lost in communication, but my dad was really into more like funk and soul.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah, one band, so sorry, did you say three essential
albums? 3 essential albums, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll do 3 essential artists, because that's a little bit easier. Little Feat are a band from the 70s. Dad introduced me to, and they are just amazing. There's a couple of tracks, Long Distance Love, incredible. 2 Trains, that's really funky and soulful. And then there's one called Roll 'Em Easy, which is sort of guitar and voice, and those songs are just breathtaking. Who else? Okay. Let me have a look, actually, because I'm
yeah, get to the Spotify. That's usually a good way to do it.
Yeah, okay, no, so this one's a no-brainer for me. I'm totally in love with the 1975. I think they're just really, yeah, they're just brilliant. They've really developed as well. Like, I mean, the songs of the new album, like everyone's a masterpiece to my mind. What's that one called? It's called Being Funny in a Foreign Language.
The titles are always brilliant. Yeah.
And the visuals, everything. I mean, the whole aesthetic of what they're doing is very cool. Yeah, I mean, and then other side I really like. I'm a big Bon Iver fan. Bon Iver, however you like to pronounce it. You know, I listen to a huge range of music, but those 3 artists in particular, I mean, I probably listen to one of their songs every day. Yeah, no matter what. Amongst everything else I listen to, but yeah, they always make the cut.
Nice, good selection.
Yeah.
Thinking now about maybe things that we don't know about Conor Mac. do you have any hidden talents that people would be shocked to find out that, oh, you can actually do that, or a little secret skill?
Uh, well, I mean, like, I don't have any talents. Like, can I do like a backflip or anything like that on right
That's my
now for
next
you?
question.
Uh, but I'm quite into my photography.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love photography. I particularly like portrait photography. I don't know if like I can say I'm talented at that, but I like it. And I think I'm all right. But yeah, I would say photography is like a passion of mine, and for sure.
Is that something you think that the Swiss setting, encourages?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Actually, I mean, again, I don't know if I get this from my dad, probably, but my dad did a lot of ski photography
Okay.
out here in Verbier, particularly, epic sort of powder day shoots. But yeah, it's particularly photogenic over here. I mean, you can pretty much take a beautiful photo any time of the day when you're up here. But yeah, I don't know, photography, perhaps. It's not quite a backflip, but
We'll work on that for the next one.
yeah.
Um, so, I mean, this is me just being sort of selfish asking this because I'm a huge Eurovision fan, and obviously you being in Switzerland. Switzerland obviously won with Celine Dion back in the day at the Eurovision Song Contest, and they did quite well with Luca Hani recently. Do you have a kind of a sort of an awareness of Eurovision? Are you a fan? Would it be something for you as an artist?
So I'm sorry to disappoint you, but like I've just never followed it.
No.
Not for any particular reason, but just I moved here from New Zealand, so I guess I didn't hear about it at all
Yeah.
growing up. And then in the Alps, I don't have a TV like to watch traditional TV or anything like that. I've got Netflix, of course, but it's just nothing that's really. It's not something that's come up in my life at
Yeah.
all for some reason. But that being said, people have mentioned it to me. I've got a friend in town who always brings it up. He's like, oh, mate, you got to get on Eurovision, and yeah, and represent. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's not something I'm completely aware of, and it's definitely not something I've had in my sights or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe I'll check out some like highlights or something on YouTube.
Well, it's coming to the UK next year, so it's a good chance to kind of reconnect or to connect for the first time with it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I
and
will.
I think the kind of the credibility is continuously increasing with the artist and the songs that are being submitted. So yeah, potentially don't rule it out. I'm going to become like your friend and push you for this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can
Um,
be my booking agent then. That I'm looking for.
I know. Well, who knows? Who knows? Well, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you, and I've really liked finding out more about Single and your journey and your kind of your artistry. So thank you very much for taking the time to chat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I haven't done anything quite like this before, actually.
Oh,
So
really? Well,
that
no,
was
you
really
very
cool.
natural.
Oh, thank you very much.